announcing, guys. I think we should start from this Nigeria, right? We hardly start from this Nigeria. So today, let's start from this Nigeria.
We always start from Nigeria. This particular Nigeria.
This particular Nigeria.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Rivers Assembly drama, Fubara playing to the gallery, says Wike. I was denied access to our Assembly quarters, Governor. We were not aware of his sudden visit, Lawmakers. So this has been a back and forth. They said there's a process for you to visit the legislature. You write to them. They respond to you. They read the letter at plenary and make proper arrangement for your coming. So that's why Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, says is playing to the gallery. But some have also argued to the effect that they were the one that gave him an ultimatum. He didn't meet that ultimatum. In fact, what has been going on is, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. This argument about correspondence. You know that correspondence has kept us where we are now. Just, I write letter to you, you refuse the letter. How should the letter have been written? It was supposed to be. We have been on that since the Supreme Court judgment till today. So yesterday we understand, or 2 days ago, the governor said he wrote a letter. We saw that letter. They said he made phone calls and all of that.
Absolutely, I was waiting for you to come up with that as well.
But he said they did not respond to him. So the big question was, some people have said, if they didn't respond to you, why did you show up? You should have waited for them to respond. Others have said, it's okay. So it's just a situation.
Former Governor Wike, Minister Wike was right to say that, you know, there's a particular way with politics. You don't
he was right on that.
Don't go formal because there should be an informal.
He was talking about political
relations have been frosty. And that's true. But the governor
I agree with him on that.
He wrote and he also made calls and he hasn't gotten any response. And the governor has to act on the president's orders because the president has said, look, go and do the right thing, present the budget before the Rivers State Assembly. So the governor is left with little choice here where the State Assembly is unresponsive. So we're waiting to hear from the State Assembly.
I think the core thing here is perhaps you should have waited. Someone said now, because at the end of the day, they needed to respond. At least if you're coming to my house, because it's an arm of government, let's not forget as well. So I guess what Nyesom Wike was saying was, look, utilize back channels first.
Absolutely.
Utilize the back channels first and exhaust back channels so that all this front-end conversation and back and forth will be taken away. But, you know, these are politicians. They know what they're doing. I always believe politicians know what they're doing. I never make that mistake in my life again. I will never make that mistake in my life.
Let me quickly contrast.
Because they make kiss and makeup
they always do.
In a few months' time, and then you're left hanging.
But I want to quickly contrast two incidents. They're not linked, but they're similar. And that's still on the front page of this Nigeria. So you see the Rivers Assembly matter. And then at the bottom of the big picture on the front page of this Nigeria, let's just show you that. You see Tinubu, Obasa, lawmakers meet in Aso Villa over Lagos Assembly in Broglio. So it's also an assembly issue, right, with the executive or otherwise, whether they want to admit it or not, but it's what it is, right? But see the way things are being handled, it's quite different. And I don't know. I know there's always that back and forth about is there some difference in the way we practice politics, even in the different regions of the country. But one thing is sure, whatever politics will not lead to development and peace is not the right brand of politics.
So from there, let's take a look at Blueprint newspaper this morning, which takes a slightly different turn from the other papers. Listen to the big story. Senate summons security chiefs, urges intervention in Gwer West. And there's just one rider there. Says Akpoti Udoa's suspension has no link with sexual harassment. Well, that's taking. It's just the consensus that the treatment of her suspension has crowded out the more important issue. But about the big story, guys, on the front page of Blueprint newspaper, the politics at the national level and the state, assembly levels in Rivers and, Lagos seems to be, pushing to the background what is happening in terms of security in some states. There's an ongoing conversation about the concern of security in Edo, in Ondo, in Oyo, I believe, and, with concern, Benue also. And, we've stayed with that conversation on Benue for some time about suspected herders attacking communities and going on a killing spree. And don't forget also that the governor of Oyo State had drawn the attention of his colleagues, his contemporaries in the southwest, that those who are fleeing the heat of military intervention in the northwest are relocating to the forests in the southwest. But he assures that the security agents will go after them. And the governor of Lagos State has also weighed in on that in some reports that he gets daily, reports about the security situation in forests within Lagos domain daily. But the more important, matter here is how well are the state governors collaborating to ensure that the state, not just the urban centers and the rural areas, but the forests are also safe for habitation for the entire southwest, such that we don't, find ourselves in a situation where, we now require more intervention, military intervention, as we've seen in the northeast and in the north central, in the southwest as well. So security is an emerging big conversation in the southwest as far as this particular report is concerned. Guys.
Let's turn our attention now to the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune also leads with the Rivers Matter, and it's a statement from former governor and the FCT minister Nyesom Wike saying nothing will happen if Fubara is impeached. Blasts PDP governors and WC, everything you've heard already, right, during the course of this conversation. But what really catches my interest is a big picture on the front page, and that's affected structures at Aleshiloye Market in Ibadan in the aftermath of that fire late Tuesday. And at the Aleshiloye Market, for those who may not know Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, is a big market. You have different sections of the market. And just seeing aerial pictures of the damage that the fire caused to the plastic section of that market, it's just heartbreaking. And hearing some of the market women speak, some of them use the proceeds from their stalls to raise their children, to help their family, and it's all gone. All gone. And you just wonder, there's talk about whether or not there's insurance. It's not really a thing in this part of the world, which is another conversation we need to have. But right now, they need all of the help and support they can get, because that market rakes in millions. It's responsible for the livelihoods of a lot of people. So that's really what is concerning to me right now on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. You see traders count losses as fire raises over 70 shops at Aleshiloye Market. 3 shop owners hospitalized.
And many breadwinners there.
It's very, very unfortunate. That even reminds me, I think it's even on the front page of the Tribune of the that incident at the Tadala Bridge. We understand 2 people died. I think one person was a corn seller. I understand it's gas. It's gas, not PMS.
Not PMS.
So you can imagine a corn seller. That gas gets to it. It was just boom.
It was just going to explode.
You understand? So gas travels in the air. And that's how the person perhaps selling the corn, I was told, selling corn late into the night or at about that time. So that the movement of that, gaseous whatever, is what caused inflammation.
I'd covered a gas explosion there.
It's very deadly.
5-6 years, and you could see bodies strewn on the floor in the drainage system. And people raised concerns about the position of that the gas station there. I love that place because I usually take a detour just to buy corn, roasted corn, on that route. So I'm very sure that I will know that.
There's a lady I know that I had to ask, is it the lady? Nobody really knows who the person is, but it was quite sad to see. So when we say, for PMS, we say if there's an explosion, run. If there's a gas explosion, fly, literally. Don't run. If you have the capacity to fly.
That's if you're able to, because it just happens so fast.
If you have the capacity to fly away, literally. So that's why when people cite gas stations around residential areas, there's always an issue. Because if anything goes wrong, that's it. The impact is very, very, anyway, our thoughts and our prayers are with those affected at this very difficult time. But let's wrap up with Nigerian News Direct. The one we've already said, Lagos Assembly crisis. Tinubu brokers peace, urges lawmakers to support Obasa's leadership. The reason why we always say this, so you can see the contrast between this and Rivers, is there's a big brother posture. There's a senior man in the game who can call people to order and say, look, after all, we're from the same family. We may have bruises from this battle, however you want to look at it. But because you can clearly see the assembly members are not happy when this happened. But
well, you know, for me, Jeffrey,
but Rivers
the big question would be, what does it mean to be a state assembly member in Nigeria? Does it mean you lose completely your individuality, your convictions as a Democrat, as a politician? Because either there's a big brother rule or there's another voice of Jacob and hand of Esau elsewhere. It doesn't matter what you believe, you have to dance to the tune of whoever the paymaster is.
You let the cat out of the bag, because that's a conversation we're going to have very soon. So watch out.
Yeah, watch out for it. Let me help you. Most of the houses of assembly, or some of the houses of assembly, so let's not make a sweeping statement that I accuse the minister of. Some of the houses of assembly are not independent, you understand, unfortunately. I want to use it carefully. Are not independent because what we see play out at the end of the day just tells the story, which is why the military formed SDP and NRC and told politicians, choose one which you will serve in. That's why they don't have, I'm a founding father of the FZP, I was a register, my signature was on the NRC. No, military formed two parties. I say, you want to join anyone you like, because they didn't want founders, they wanted joiners. Anyway, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the very first conversation for today. And Rivers State is naturally a place to start. But I think before we get to that conversation, let's find out what people are saying.
Maybe it would be a good time to start with trends.
And you have those ones.
So, where would be a good place to start this morning?
Naturally, Rivers.
Rivers. Okay, so let's go to Rivers.
The more you run away, the more Rivers is in your face. What in the world?
Right there.
I thought you didn't want to do Rivers at all.
Well,
so you do us the honors this time.
Talking about Rivers.
We're newsmen. If the people are talking about it, there's nothing we can talk about.
I'll talk about it. And Captain MD, particularly about, a lot of things happened yesterday. So there was the talk from the minister, the FCT minister. There was what was happening inside the assembly quarters.
Same time.
It's the quarters, by the way. It's not the house. They said they had to move to the quarters. So that's where plenary happens. So when you see visual, you see that they're in a very small room compared to what it used to be. And there was what was happening outside the quarters yesterday. But this comment is as to what happened around the assembly quarters area. And Captain MD speaks to this. That's Governor Fubara being locked out of the Rivers State Assembly and prevented from presenting a budget. Take a look at what Captain MD, the very first comment, says. I only hope things don't go or get beyond control in Rivers State. So what is control exactly? When will it get out of control?
Is it already out of control?
So far, I think control is miles away from where this is right now. He says, because federal people won't leave state matters alone. Why should a federal man be intervening too much in a state issue? There will be no winners. Only the Rivers people will feel the pain. So who is the federal man right now? Is there a federal man in that sense?
Well, I'm sure when you talk about federal man, talking about his own who serves in the federal cabinet. So at the end of the day...
Isn't he also a statesman?
Well, Kade, you answer that question. It's not my problem. you're just
People wanted to talk Rivers. Now I'm talking Rivers.
No, we have an entire segment dedicated to Rivers. Okay, so let's move on to Adetunji. It says a clear sign that the power struggle in the state is far from over. I can tell you the truth. It's very far from over. Who really controls the legislature? I remember when I spoke to Tony Cole and I told him this is a battle of attrition. He said, yes, you're correct. It's about who bleeds out and dies first.
Oh dear.
Yeah, those are his words.
And that comes with great impact. I'm trying to internalize it, but don't worry. We'll delve into that conversation. This next one is from Okundalaye Henry. I hope I got your name correctly. Okundalaye. Okay, so you say this whole thing will only stop the state from making progress and further discourage investors.
Okay, I think that's from Emelobe Obinna. Okundalaye says, nobody's above the rule of law. We should follow what the Supreme Court has ordered.
All right, so that's for the governor. Now let's talk about the FCT minister, whom you guys say has been described as a federal man. So when he said nothing will happen if Fubara is impeached, a lot of people have been talking about that as well. Safety Cabal is first on this. Says that a statement like this can start trouble if care is not taken, especially from the overzealous supporters from both sides.
Justice Omodiagbe is next, and Justice says Wike should refrain from making statements that can heat up the polity. He can be impeached without boasting about it. Just do your thing quietly. I wonder if you mean he can't be impeached.
No, I say, yeah, he can be impeached without making inflammatory statements. Because when it comes to Nigeria, religion, ethnicity, and those divided are very sensitive. So, and when you're a leader at that level, you should be do it with tact and being cautious. Whether they are minority or not, you have to be very careful. Zaradin Saleh said, politics in River State is like a chessboard. One move can change the entire game. But the question is, who holds the real power? I like the thinking.
But chess is not native to us, so we can talk about Ayo or something. Let's support made in Nigeria. Anyway, well, point taken, that makes sense, absolutely. Finally, the election oil fire, market fire in Ibadan, which we talked about earlier on, also is of concern. Take a look at what Finex has to say about the fire in Ibadan, right? It says traders losing their livelihoods overnight is devastating. The government must step in to support them. We need to have that conversation about, insurance as well. I know that it's not something you probably want to talk about right now. First of all, you need to take care of them. There are people who are hospitalized, for example. There are people who are still counting their losses, so they don't want to hear about what I should have done, right? But hey, we need to find a way to still have this conversation. So it's really sad this happened. But how do we prevent the next fire? That's on the safety side. But how do we prevent you from being hit by that kind of loss too much on the insurance side?
Very important questions there, Kayode. And, this is where the morning brief comes in. We also always bring you that regular segment that pretty much, equips you with information on how to ensure your safety in different ways. Safety with fire, the use of the fire extinguisher, security, safety tips for women and all of that. So you can, just go back and watch some of those editions with our safety expert who always comes through. But this one is from Adetunji Adewolu, who says, how many more markets must burn before fire safety becomes a priority? So I think the easy answer to that question is, while we always, do well to bring government to account when government doesn't do what it should do, the marketers also, the traders must take responsibility for their safety with adequate knowledge, training, fire drills, ensuring that fire extinguishers are in each shop at the markets. So those are, givens as far as safety is concerned.
And that the fire trucks have water. Yeah. I had a conversation with a big organization establishment, government establishment in Nigeria that burned last year. And they were telling me that, when eventually they came, there was no water. They had to buy water and even rely on, I think, a military arms and fire service to quench the fire. The place is still burnt right now. You still see the whole burnt, a story building burnt.
Those are the issues. Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll switch gears, of course, to get started with what's playing out in River State. Is the war far from over? We do not know. Join us again.